And our coverage of the Israel-Palestinian conflict continues. 5 days of cross-border violence shows no signs of abating, but caught in this crossfire are the residents of Gaza. Air raids and shelling have damaged homes and schools as Palestinians now escape on foot to seek refuge in United Nations schools. Over 200 housing units have been destroyed in the Gaza Strip, with access to clean water, sanitation and healthcare hindered. Now, fleeing families were seen arriving at the UN schools in pickup trucks, on donkeys and even on foot, hauling their children and their belongings.
تطلع هيك بتلاقي قصف، تيجي هيك بتلاقي قصف، طيارات فوقينا، الدبابة بتخبط، الزورق بخبط، مش عارفين نتحرك ولا عارفين نروح. الأطفال بيصرخوا، النسوان بتصرخ، الزلام بتصرخ، يعني من يوم ما انخلقت ما شفتش أسوأ من هاي الليلة في حياتي.
كنا بدنا نطلع بالليل، ضلت الزنانات تقصف والبراميل يقصفوا علينا لما انتفجر النهار، لمينا حالنا ما صدقنا نطلع من الدار واجينا نجري على المدارس. هاي كل اللي ولا واحد ولا استوعبنا شيء من لم من صرخة الأولاد، هم يصرخوا ويصوتوا بدهم يطلعوا واحنا بنرجف عليهم. أكثر من هيك لا. بالمهم بس حين لقينا الدنيا دمار عندنا كلها ورا، فيش إشي عندنا مليح.
With the bombing intensifying at night, many could not escape their homes. As dawn broke over Gaza, families rushed to UN schools to escape the shelling.
حسينا كأنه فيلم رعب وأمر من فيلم رعب. تشوف تطلع الشرار يعدي في الدار، القصف والمجر، مش قادرين نتحرك، مش قادرين نطلع. أولادي حطناهم أنا.
Speaking out of the United Nations office in Gaza City, the director of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency in Gaza said that he and his team are currently sleeping in the office due to this ongoing violence.
The situation remains extremely tense and volatile. I was just looking up because literally half a minute ago there was another rocket incoming. We've had a rough night. I am speaking to you from our UN headquarters here in Gaza, and during the night there were at least 5 times, we are also sleeping at our offices at the moment, at least 5 times where I was basically jolted out of bed because there were very strong strikes close to our office, Israeli retaliatory strikes, that is.
Now in the town of Beit Lahiya, residents gathered to mourn the death of a family who were killed after an Israeli warplane reduced a building to rubble. Heavy bombardment in the strip has toppled at least 3 high-rise apartment buildings, shelling some areas with tanks stationed near the border. Israeli fighter jets also bombed Gaza's National Production Bank building, claiming that it is part of the Hamas financial infrastructure. Now, the Gaza Strip is home to around 2 million Palestinians. It is described as one of the most densely populated areas in the world and has been often called the focal point of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And the enclave is currently witnessing its most intense fighting since 2014. At least 120 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza, including 31 children. 830 others have been wounded in the current hostilities. Now, what Israel and Gaza are witnessing today is the worst violence since the 2014 war, a war that lasted for about 50 days and left thousands of people in Gaza and at least 70 in Israel dead. With no resolution in sight, the violence in this region continues still. Israel killed a string of senior Hamas military leaders and hammered the Gaza Strip with airstrikes, and the Hamas fired rocket barrages towards the Israeli cities. There has also been a burst of fury from Israel's Palestinian citizen in support of those living in the territories, as well as counter violence by Jewish Israeli. Now, something that did not happen in 2014, and Israel's mixed Jewish Arab cities are paying the price for this conflict. The city of Lod has been on a boil. A 32-year-old Arab man was shot and killed in clashes earlier this week. At his funeral, protesters torched cars and hurled stones. A synagogue and a Jewish-owned restaurant were also set on fire. Over 150 people have been arrested by the police. Now, clashes were also reported in northern Haifa port, where Palestinian flag-waving protesters scuffled with the police. In Bat Yam, south of Tel Aviv, and a mob was seen savagely beating a man they believe to be Arab. Border guards have been deployed in the city of Lod and Acre.
אנחנו עושים את המירב ואת המיטב כדי לחזק את תושבי לוד, כדי לתקוף חזק מאוד, וזה גם חשוב, כי זה לא רק היקף הכוחות, זה גם אופי הפעילות, והפעלת הכוח יהיו שונים. זו הציפייה שלי במשטרה, זו ההנחיה, ואני מצפה גם לראות את זה בשטח.
Now, Israel's president has warned of a civil war between the country's Arabs and Jews. President said that while the country is endangered by rockets being launched, people are busying themselves with a senseless civil war. Israel's defense minister Benny Gantz called the Jewish-Arab violence no less than the Hamas rockets. He said that we must not win the Gaza battle and lose at home. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu issued a video statement where he pledged to grant police emergency powers for crackdown.
We give 100% backing to the police, to the soldiers of the border police and to the other security forces in order to restore law and order to Israel's cities. We will not tolerate anarchy. We back the police in using all means with full powers, including in conjunction with the IDF and the ISA. We have given powers for an emergency situation here. All of these measures are important, legitimate and necessary in order to halt this lawlessness in the state of Israel.
In West Bank, 7 Palestinians were killed by Israeli fire and more than 150 were injured in West Bank. One of the 7 killed attempted to stab an Israeli soldier. Clashes broke out in West Bank, where Palestinians were seen hurling stones at Israeli forces. The West Bank clashes have been one of the most intense ones since the second Intifada that began in 2000. The turmoil for Israel is only getting worse with each passing day. On one side is Israel's ongoing conflict with Hamas along the Gaza Strip, and now massive clashes in West Bank. This amid unprecedented unrest among Arabs and Jews inside the country. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.